بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. In the session of this week today, actually this whole last 3 weeks we have been dedicated for the month of Sha'ban to prepare us for the month of Ramadan, and every lecture has been defined to serve one of the purposes of the fasting. So inshallah, as we are going to talk about in tomorrow's lecture how to spend Ramadan, today is morely about the fiqh issue that, what are the legal aspects of the fasting and upon whom fasting is obligatory, upon what type of categories of individual they are exempt from fasting and so on. So the legal definition of sawm means refraining from anything entering into the body. And the Sharia means in the translation or in the terminology of Sharia is that stay away from eating and drinking and sexual relationship from dawn all the way till sunset. And at that time, if this action are found with the niyyah of fasting, then the fasting is valid. What are the conditions for its obligation? Number 1, Islam. Number 2 is puberty. Before puberty, fasting is not obligatory. Sanity, meaning a person is in his senses. And the knowledge of the fasting of being obligatory, that I'm fulfilling this fardiyah, that I'm doing fasting to fulfill the fardiyah. Who are the people that are excused from from fasting during the month of Ramadan? These are the travelers, expecting mothers who are, having difficulty with their childbearing, or nursing mother who are having difficulty in nursing their children. They are exempt from fasting in the month of Ramadan, but they have to make up the qada later on, or however the procedure that is. A woman who is in her menstruation, she's exempt from fasting. Children before puberty, physical unable, elderly individual who is not able to fast. Sick in the fear that if I fast, then my illness will increase. You're allowed to be exempt from fasting in the month of Ramadan and then make up later on. Conditions for validity. Number 1 is intention. If a person stays hungry throughout the whole day or stays away all the actions of fasting but does not make the intention of fasting, then fasting will not be accepted. Free from all type of impurity for a woman, refraining from eating, drinking, and any intercourse is considered. This is the conditions for the validity of fasting. Now, intention. The method and time. The intention of fasting is necessary if a person stays away from all those things that breaks one's fast without having an intention. The fast will not be valid. It is not necessary to make the intention verbally, as intention merely means to intend. Thus, the firm determination of the heart will suffice. However, it is better to express the intention verbally as well. And then, the fasting is the famous dua, بِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانِ, that I intend to fast in the morning of this holy month of Ramadan, the next day. The time for intention lasts up to midday. So if a person he went to sleep without having the intention of fasting in the morning or next day, and then he wakes up later in the morning, can he still make intention after the time has passed? Of course he can make intention to fast, because the fasting window is up to midday. But after midday, then you cannot fast, because you've passed majority of the day already. So that fasting did not happen in the intention. So if the intention happens before midday, the same day, your fasting is valid, because this is fardu ayn, meaning a fasting that is obligatory and is specified by the Sharia, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is midday? The hour marked between the Fajr time, which is the true dawn, all the way to sunset. So as many hours you have in between, you mark it at a half range, and that will be your midday. The mustahab and recommended acts in fasting. To partake of the suhoor, it is mustahab and rewarding. To delay the suhoor up to little of before subh al-sadiq. When we talk about a little before subh al-sadiq, that means that at least a few minutes before subh al-sadiq. Now, a lot of times you have people following different things in this. It becomes a confusion because people have come from different areas and they have a practice that established in the countries that they were in. So in some of the countries, at the time when the fasting begins, they siren an alarm. And then after the alarm is siren, 5 minutes after that, the adhan starts. In some countries, right when the time stops, this is when the adhan starts. So a lot of people have the habit of following these two things. The actual thing is the timing. It is not the alarm, it is not the adhan. It's the time. Right? A lot of people say, you can eat until the adhan starts. Sometimes the adhan starts late. Okay? Sometimes, unless you have a clock in the house that gives the adhan right at the time when Subh al-Sadiq starts, then that's a different scenario. But we're talking about the adhan that happens in the masajid. Because those sometimes they get delayed due to the salah timings that they have. So the thing that we need to follow here is the timing. Now there is a difference in timing according to calculation. Right? You have the 15 degrees time and then you have the 18 degrees time. 15 degrees time is called mufta bihi, meaning the entire country has agreed upon to follow this time schedule for the entire country to make it easy. Now, what is the second time, 18 degrees time, is ahwat, meaning al-ihtiyat. If you want to be extra cautious, there is a 20 minutes gap between the 18 and the 15. So if the 15 degrees time starts, the Subh al-Sadiq happens to be at 5:45, then the 18 degrees should have started at 5:25. So there's a 20 minutes gap between the two times. So if you are following the 15 degrees, you're doing fine. And if you would like to follow 18 degrees for your own cautious, then you are allowed to do that, but you cannot impose this upon anyone else. That's for your own sake only. Not even the family members of the house. Right? No, we're going to follow, all of us are going to follow this one opinion. No, people are following the masajid. The best thing is to follow the masjid that you are associated with. In Ramadan, in the fasting, in Taraweeh, the best opinion is to follow the jama'ah. As Imam Shami rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned in Fatawa Sham, that al-amiyu, a regular person, should follow the imam of the masjid, the congregation that is. And this is a Hanafi fatwa book. Fatawa Sham is Ad-Darr al-Mukhtar. It's a Hanafi fatwa book, and he has given a fatwa that you follow the imam and the masjid and the congregation that you have, and that's the safest opinion. To break once, okay, and then to break the fast immediately after sunset. This is also a mustahab act to do. Not to delay it to where the fasting becomes makruh. To break one's fast while with dry or fresh dates, if available. If dates are not available, then with water. And to make the niyyah at night, meaning before Subh al-Sadiq. To make the niyyah before Subh al-Sadiq, it is a mustahab act. Okay. Now, the famous dua for the niyyah, وَبِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ, as we mentioned, or the time of iftar, ذَهَبَ الظَّمَأُ وَابْتَلَّتِ الْعُرُوقُ. So there are two du'as that are for iftar. Number one is, Allahumma laka suntu wa bika amantu wa ala rizqika aftartu. And then there is, ذَهَبَ الظَّمَأُ وَابْتَلَّتِ الْعُرُوقُ وَثَبَتَ الْأَجْرُ inshaAllah. If you ponder upon the meaning of the dua, you will understand that at what time of the iftar you are supposed to recite the first one and the second one. The first one is, Oh Allah, I have asked you, I have fasted for you, and I believe in you, and I do iftar with the food that you have given me. Okay? The second dua is, ذَهَبَ الظَّمَأُ, the thirst has gone, the veins are quenched, and the reward is confirmed. Now if you understand the meaning, the thirst is gone. What does that mean? That means you've already broken your fast. Right? Before that, the thirst existed. So ذَهَبَ الظَّمَأ is. So that's why in Awn al-Ma'bud, the Sharah of Sunan Abi Dawood, it is mentioned the first dua is before you start your iftar, and the second dua is after you have partaken your iftar. Right? Allahumma laka sumtu is before you start. And ذهب الظمأ is after you have partaken your iftar, because that dua fits the meaning of that time. So the Prophet ﷺ used to recite both of these dua. Okay, now this is the act of fasting. Now there are acts which, what is the qada and kafara? Let's say you did not fast for a specific day. Now you have to do make up for the fast, or the kafara, it's the expiation of the fast. So expiatory or payments, or qada, keeping up the fast. To keep one fast in the place of another fast means qada. Kafara means to keep one fast after another for 60 days continuously. However, if a person is unable to keep these 60 fasts for some valid reason, for example, then continuous sickness, then one has the option of choosing from one of the following four. So if you are not able to fast because of the kafara. Now, when does kafara become wajib? This is something else. That's when you have broken your fast intentionally on purpose. Then you have to do qada and kafara both. Other than that, in any other reason, if you have broken your fast, have not kept your fast, then only qada becomes, kafara doesn't become obligatory. So if you are giving kafara, then you have one of these three options. Number one, feed 60 people for their full of 2 meals. Number two is feed one poor person 2 meals a day for 60 days. Or give 60 poor person 3.5 pounds of wheat and barley or cash worth of food. Now, this is the same as, the amount is the same as the sadaqatul fitr amount, which when we calculate it in kafara, or when you calculate it in your fidya, what you would give if you're not able to fast. What nullifies the fast? When both qada and kafara are due. When both qada and kafara are due. Number one, eat or drink anything intentionally, even medicine, if not for an emergency. So when you have eaten intentionally, this is when qada and kafara becomes obligatory. Having intercourse while you're fasting makes both of them mandatory. Swallowing the saliva of spouse, this also makes it mandatory for you to keep up the kafara. If a person is smoking intentionally, then of course his fast is broken and he has to keep kafara and qada both. Now the action when only qada becomes valid and qada is due, there is no kafara. Eat something not normally consumed. You eat something that is not for consumption. Break the fast due to intense hunger or thirst. You are feeling very thirsty and you cannot bear it anymore. You broke your fast, only qada, no kafara. Take medicine in a life-threatening situation. Qada, no kafara. Eating, drinking mistakenly. Qada, no kafara. Breaking fast after forgetful eating. You've forgotten and you ate, you thought you weren't fasting, you ate. But then now you realize, oh, I was fasting. And then you continue to eat again. Okay? So you will have to make up for this fast, because the second eating is intentionally. It broke your fast. If you stop the first time, then your fast is still valid. When you see when a person is eating without knowing that he's fasting, then he stops immediately, that I am fasting, the fast still continues no matter what he has consumed. Okay, eating food stuck between the teeth, only qada. Taking food out of your mouth and then swallowing it, regardless of a size, only qada is mandatory. Swallowing water while excessive gargling. Person is putting water in his mouth and accidentally swallows. He knows he's fasting. It's not that he doesn't know. He knows he's fasting, but he was doing it and accidentally went down. So now the fasting is broken and he has to make up for this fast. So all of these actions are considered that qada is wajib and kafara there is no. Beginning of a woman starts her menstruation, the fasting will break, the fast will break, and she has to make up for that fast later on, but there is no kafara, of course. While brushing your teeth, if the toothpaste you swallowed something or something to that nature, then you have to make up for the fast, but there is no kafara, because the intent was not to eat. The intent was to clean your mouth. It accidentally went down your throat. Using a nasal spray while you're fasting. Using a nasal spray for allergies does not invalidate the fast according to the majority of jurists. There are some opinions that do say consider it to be invalidate the fast, but the majority say it does not. Regarding the asthma pump, because asthma pump, it goes through your mouth. So there are two opinions. If you are in a desperate situation and you're fasting, of course you can take the asthma pump and it will be considered fasting would not be voided. But in normal condition, a person should stay away from using an asthma pump while he is fasting. Okay, we'll stop right here. Now, the next is about injection. Any type of injection that you take in your body does not nullify your fast. That includes the vaccine for coronavirus. If you have scheduled your vaccine at a time where it comes in the month of Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan you are allowed while you're fasting to go and get your vaccine, and it will not nullify your fast. Now after you have taken the vaccine, let's say you start becoming very sick and now you have to break your fast, and that will be due to a necessity. You will have to make up for that fast, but there will be no kafara mandatory upon you. Why? Because it was a necessity that happened. Now let's say you took the vaccine, that day you were fine, you finished your fast, the next day you started your fast, and while in the middle of fasting, you start seeing the symptoms of being sick. So now you are allowed to break your fast if you're not able to continue, and then later on make up for the fast. So taking a vaccine while you're fasting is completely fine and does not nullify your fast. Inshallah, we will continue from here next week. We ask Allah to accept, and we Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to do our fasting properly. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdi. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Any questions? Yes. Kafara is a penalty of you intentionally breaking your fast. Qada is making up for the fast. So if you have intentionally broken your fast, then this is kafara and qada both. Yes. No, you don't have to renew your intention every time. That one intention will count the whole time. Yes. So if you're taking insulin injection, you're allowed to take that while you're fasting. Does not nullify your fast. Insulin does not nullify your fast because it's an injection. Any type of injection, and that's the opinion of the fuqaha, that any type of injection that you take, because the liquid is going through in your body from a ghair fitrah makhraj. Yes, they can fast and they can take insulin. That's fine completely. Yes. If you have not intend to fast that day, or even in the beginning of the month of Ramadan, and that same day you have gone to midday and midday has passed, then that you have to stop, you have to stay away from eating for the rest of the day, but you'll have to make up for this fast after the month of Ramadan. Yes, it will be valid for the whole month. Yes, you can make an intention that from today onwards I'm going to be fasting 30 days for the month of Ramadan. And that one intention is sufficient for the whole month. You can take it. The second one, you can take it in Ramadan. It's okay, yes. No need to postpone. You can take it while you're fasting. Blood samples are allowed while you're fasting. Yes. So if an elderly person who does not have any hope of gaining health, right, in physical performance, then this person will give a call fidya of the fasting. And the fidya is, the least amount is $5 per fast. 5, 7, 10. So you can decide whichever you want. Minimum is $5. And yes. It's $10. Some of them say $10, some of them say $5. So whichever you are able to do. And that can be given to any charitable organization who takes zakah. So that money can be given to them. So if a woman is expecting and she is not able to fast due to the health of a child, and the physician has told him that he should not be fasting or she should not be fasting because it can have an effect on the baby, then she is allowed to be exempt from fasting, but then she has to make up qada after the month of Ramadan. Yes. Makruh means dislike, something that you did that can be having an effect on your fasting. For example, you start complaining about hunger while you're fasting. This is makruh. You, let's say you are just putting water in your mouth so that you can feel